Hey everybody, this is the Sliders Review, and I'm here today to talk to you about Aquaman, the 2006 unaired TV pilot. I've been wanting to talk about this series for the longest time. I watched it many years ago on YouTube, and like many years ago, right? And so at that time, I only watched it once, and I didn't remember much of anything about it except for Justin Hartley was in it. So I just now discovered this is on Tubi now. They just put it up for this month and everything. So I'm all like, oh, cool and everything. I get to rewatch this. And they call it more like a TV special now, because, like whatever. But this unaired television pilot, it's not half bad. If you were around in the early 2000s, there was a show called Smallville. And the creators of Smallville are the ones who created this, Al Gore and Miles Miller. And so, they created Smallville. They've also done some other things too, like Shadowhunters. They took over for season 2 and 3. And, they had a very unique style of telling comic book stories, like with Smallville. They didn't do the whole costume things. There were really no fights. CGI was used, but Clark Kent could not fly, so he never became Superman. But people loved it anyway because of the good drama, YA type storytelling. And of course, fans were just waiting for this dude to become Superman, and boy, were we disappointed. I'm still disappointed till this day. That thing at the end of the series finale, that ain't enough for me. And that bull crap they pulled in the Arrowverse where he shows back up, but like, oh, I got rid of my power. No, that pissed me off even more. That pissed me off even more. And so, it was just good times back then, you know what I'm saying? Like, he had some really good drama telling, some pretty good CGI for back in those days. You had superheroes and villains in the show, but you didn't have no costumes until they did start showing costumes. And well, they were interesting and weird. See, basically, back in those days, you wore whatever color scheme your superhero comic book counterpart wore, right? But you will just wear regular clothes. And so that's what they did. And so Clark Kent will wear a color scheme of red and blue. A blue shirt, maybe some blue pants, a red jacket, something like that. And that's what they did for this show. Now, back in Smallville, they would later incorporate a hoodie, a vest, a hoodie, and sometimes a trench coat or just a jacket coat. And it would be more superhero looking with the designs or whatever it is in the comics, and we just had to accept it for whatever it was because we knew we wasn't getting nothing else. And that's just how we had to live back then, you know what I'm saying? But then something interesting happened in season, was it 6? Smallville, whatever season Green Arrow came in, and we got our very first superhero costume. It's like, dude, that's awesome. But it was still like a vest and hoodie, but it was still awesome. It was leather pants. It had the color scheme. It had the designs, a more updated design from the comics. It was awesome, man. You know what I'm saying? He wore sunglasses instead of a mask. Makes total sense. And, it was just good times back then. And there were other shows coming out around that time, like Birds of Prey, where she literally just wore a skin type outfit. And, they really didn't do costumes back then. But then in season 4, they did something really interesting. They brought in Aquaman, played by Alan Richardson. And at first, he just did the color scheme thing, regular clothes, and they later gave him a hoodie. And now Aqua episode was the highest rated episode because Aquaman showed up, and a lot of comic book fans were happy. Now, me personally, I did not watch Smallville at that time. I was a late bloomer. I didn't come in until whatever season that they brought in Green Arrow. That's when I started watching it. I became obsessed and I did whatever it took to watch the other seasons. And I mean, whatever it took. Like, let's see, I went to YouTube. I went to Hulu. The WB used to have older episodes back then. So I will watch like season 1 on the WB website, and I'll watch say like season 3 or something like that on Hulu. Now there's a couple of episodes I have missed from back in the day. I haven't rewatched it. I don't know if I'll rewatch it now. Like, what was it? 10 or 11 seasons, over 20 episodes. That's a freaking lot. And also, no costumes, no like punching, fighting, nothing like that, no flying. I don't know if I want to go back to those times. You know what I'm saying? It was good back then, but I don't know if I want to relive it now. You know what I'm saying? Plus, most of the cast are scum. Like the father, like Pa Kent, the girl who played Chloe, whatever the black dude name was in there, I can't remember his name, and somebody else, but I can't think of that person. I think that's it. That's Scummy and everything. Just those three, I think. And it's just like I don't want to like this. I don't want to look at them. And so when they came out with this, people assume Alan Richardson was, be Aquaman in this. But here's the thing. This Aquaman show was never a backdoor pilot. So that was kind of like their excuse back then for not casting him. But then he was later on Michael Rosenbaum's podcast. And I think he said, he had the role. Then he didn't have the role when the TV show came around. And I think he said it was because back then he was inexperienced at acting. He just came in and just started acting. I think he started off as a model at first, and then just went to acting straight in and didn't really I don't even think he went to acting classes. Just went straight forward. I think that's the same thing what Tom did as well. And so they wanted somebody who was more experienced and stuff like that. So Justin Hartley got the role. And, Justin Hartley kind of just looks more like Aquaman, except for the hair. The hair doesn't. But of course, when the pilot couldn't get picked up, and the reason why the pilot didn't get picked up is because that was back when the CW and not CW, but Warner Brothers and UPN did that merger into the CW. And so the person in charge just decided to pass on the pilot. And so that's why we never got this and everything. And of course, when the pilot never got picked up, Justin was later cast as Green Arrow. Same hairstyle and everything. And it worked out for the best. In fact, the three women who were in this pilot, they were in Smallville on the show playing other characters. Adrienne Palicki, who plays Nadia the Siren in this, she was back in the day playing the pretend Kara Kent or Kara Zor-El or, Supergirl and everything. Remember that pretend one, the human that Jor-El decided to give powers to and persuade Clark to accept his destiny, but he later turned it down and she died, and then a couple of seasons later the real Supergirl showed up. That was her. In fact, Adrienne Palicki, man, I swear she's like the queen of unaired pilots. She has 3. She has that Robinson Family, Lost in Space, which I need to talk about, because that was actually a pretty good unaired pilot, and I'm surprised it didn't get picked up. I forgot all about that. I kept saying years ago I was going to talk about it, and I never did. Of course, she was in the 2011 Wonder Woman series playing Wonder Woman, and I said this before. That was actually a pretty good unaired pilot. They just need to fix some things up, pick whatever costume they was gonna pick. They had like three on the show, and like reworked the script just a little bit, a little recasting here and there. Man, I would have ate that show up. And seriously, man, it was a pretty good pilot. And this Aquaman pilot is pretty good and everything. Like, it's not half bad. Yeah, it's outdated. It's back in those early 2006 or early 2000s and stuff, and they're just wearing regular clothes and, no costumes and but it's not half bad, you know what I'm saying? Now, it's not perfect, the pilot is, and I can kind of see why they passed up on it. Some things need to be explained, period. Not a little bit more, just need to be explained. But that's something they was going to do as the show progressed and everything, And it's really right up there with Smallville, to tell you the truth. But it's different. It's a nice beach setting, and I like that. I love shows that are on the beach. You get to see people in their swimwear and everything. It reminds me of Acapulco Heat, and it reminds me of High Tide from the 90s. And I used to like shows like that back in the day, The CGI depends on what exactly you're looking at. Some of it's great, and some of it's horrible looking. Like the opening beginning with the plane and the fake ocean at night and the fake animals and stuff, that's atrocious. But the rest of the CGI, like him swimming really fast and the siren, oh, that's awesome. They really put that money where the budget was at, you know what I'm saying? And so, and there was even a fight scene and everything. It could have lasted a little bit longer, sure, but it didn't. And there's two huge mysteries and stuff. And both of them are pretty good. But the problem is that since this was potentially on the WB, but later went to the CW, because they had a TV budget, and because this is the Smallville guys, and because this is the early 2000s, it would have been super grounded. And I mean super grounded. We would have got scenes underwater, few here and there, maybe like a couple of minutes worth of it. They probably would have never went to Atlantis, and if they did, which most likely they would have, it wouldn't be all the time, and there's no telling how it will look. Probably CGI, probably a miniature. But they would have done the whole thing where they're inside like this castle looking thing and there's no water so everybody can breathe. They would have done that. Because like they said, that the creator said they wanted to go back to those old fashioned comic books where he's rescuing animals. There's oil in the water, like there's an evil company polluting the water, crap like that. So it would have been on the surface 95% of the show, them walking around, talking, doing YA stuff, then having a battle, and then swimming around. And if it would have came out back then that would have been okay. I don't know about fine, but it would have been okay. If it's now, after all this superhero content we've been getting over the years, oh, it would not have flown. None whatsoever. Like, people have been like, passed and everything. And, it just wouldn't happen. And so that would have sucked if, this show would have went through, because you want to see Atlantis like you did in the Aquaman movie and everything, So they would have really had to build like an oppressive set piece for all that stuff, But I think, yeah, if it would have came out back then and, Smallville was on, and I think it would have done pretty well. But then again, we would never got Justin as like Green Arrow, and that would have been atrocious because he was awesome as Green Arrow. Also, some of the acting here and there isn't that good. It needs a little polishing in the pilot. and everything. The script should have been a little bit stronger, like, in terms of who the heck in Atlantis is coming after them. Because if his father is taken prisoner and the mom is missing, then who the heck is running things trying to kill his behind? You know what I'm saying? But then there is a B plot, which is quite fascinating, telling you the truth. Like, I kind of wanted a series on that B plot, like all on its own and stuff. Like, it's military stuff where these people are disappearing and then showing back up decades later, still looking young. And they have some of them have ties to like Atlantis and everything. And so it's kind of like, what's that about and everything? You know what I'm saying? So that would have been a good, like, build up for the entire season one. And so it starts off, with the mom narrating, and like she's flying the plane, talking to Tom Curry, and the plane goes down because there's some type of vortex type thing in the air, a beam of light. It takes the plane down, and the wreckage is about to get attacked by an unknown creature. Now, it's a siren. They didn't do the trench monsters at this time in the comics, I don't think. That was like New 52. And so there's like a not trench, but like a siren, and it kidnaps Atlantia. And before she's kidnapped, she gives Arthur, a little kid, a necklace with a seahorse on it, and she calls him Orin. Now, Orin, of course, is the Atlantean name of Aquaman. But of course, when he, was on the surface and everything, they called him Arthur. Now, the mom, I couldn't believe who this was, man. I could not believe. Like, I've seen her in like a show called High Tide. And her name is Daniela Walters. And High Tide is a show I talked about one episode. And it was in the early mid 90s. And it was one of those Saturday morning teen shows around with Saved by the Bell. And it revolved around a basketball team, a high school basketball team. So it was a bunch of guys on the basketball team and one female, and that was her character. And it was a really cool, fun show, man. And so, like, she's retired from acting ever since 2006. And she married Jay Hernandez, the dude who played Diabolico. I think his name was Diabolico, and David Ayer's Suicide Squad. I had no idea that was her at first. Her voice has changed. It's all like mature and sultry now. When she was on High Tide, I'm telling you, it was squeaky and everything. I don't know what she looks like now because there are no current pictures of her on the internet. And her husband, this is weird. All the pictures he have on Instagram, there's none of her. And that's just bizarre. And so Lou Diamond Phillips plays Tom Curry, Arthur's adoptive father. And like in this version, he's not related to Tom whatsoever. He's actually 100% Atlantean, which some comics do that and some comics don't. And so they're talking about like him getting arrested because apparently he freed some dolphins off screen. They couldn't even show us that on screen. And throughout this entire unaired pilot, he never talks to sea creatures, except for when he was a kid and they all came towards him. But he doesn't do like the hand thing to his forehead. You don't hear no noise. It happened when he was like scared and his mom got taken and they just came to like his rescue and stuff. But other than that, he never talks to him and stuff. And so, like, basically, he's talking about, like, how he wants to do more and all this and that, and, about his mom and, all that other stuff. And then we get to see one of our new characters, who was probably at some point going to be a love interest, Amanda McDonald. And she plays Eva. And so she runs a dive shop along with Arthur and everything. And they're really good buds and they really get along. And when things start to get a little hairy, he tells her, hey man, you want to like probably get out of here. But then she's attacked by like the siren. She's a cool character, you know what I'm saying? Like, she's not as fascinating as Lois or Lana, but she is just pleasant to be around. You know what I'm saying? She's a character people would have really liked. Ving Rams, this dude's been in everything, man. He plays McCaffrey. And so he tells Arthur, I helped rescue you along with your father when your mom plane went down and everything. And he later reveals, hey, look, man, I'm just like you. I'm from Atlantis. But just like you and your mom, I've been exiled and everything. And so he takes Arthur under his wing and everything, right? Later on in the series. Now, while this is going on and everything, there's a woman, the actress name is Denise. I can't even say her last name, Quincy Yada, something like that. She plays Lieutenant Torres. She's a fighter pilot and everything for the Navy, Air Force. And she's been instructed to, go out near the Bermuda Triangle and figure out what the heck is going on while all these people going missing, because there are dozens of people going missing. And so she goes out there and she sees Arthur swimming around really fast, and the CGI on him is really good. It got some nice light from the sun glistening on his body and everything. It looks spectacular. And of course, his little necklace thing, whenever it senses like an Atlantean and everything, or something from Atlantis, it glows. And it's somehow activated like that portal in the sky or whatever, right? Her plane goes down and he rescues her. Now, Tom, he found a man out in wreckage and everything. And at this point, the man gets taken to the hospital and he's there with Lieutenant Torres, right? Now, this is the craziest thing that happens. As Arthur passes by his room, his necklace glows. This man has a necklace as well and gives Arthur a message and everything about something that's going on in Atlantis, and he needs to be ready for it. So it's like, who the heck is this man? Is he an Atlantean or what? Well, this man gets taken away by the military. Rick Peters plays Agent Brigman, and he works for an organization called AUS. And he is the plot B of the show, trying to figure out who the heck are all these people that keep disappearing near the Bermuda, then showing up decades later looking absolutely the same age as they were before. And this man that was in the water is one of those people. This man is a former military officer. And so at some point he recruits Lieutenant Torres. And it turns out Lieutenant Torres is one of these people as well, but she has no recollection of ever being in the Bermuda or decades ago and all this other stuff, right? Well, a siren kills that man so they can't get answers from him. That would have been a really interesting plot. What the heck happened to these people? We really honestly don't know and never find out. We don't know if they're former Atlanteans. We don't know if they're humans that got sucked into Bermuda Triangle into Atlantis and were experimented on. We just don't know. And then that leaves Adrian Palicki as the siren. Her and Arthur meet at their place at night, and they go nude swimming at night. And the CGI on her is amazing when she transforms into the siren, when she just does the human form half hand, or when she goes full body siren, it's like makeup and prosthetics, or the half human, half siren. So she tries to kill Arthur, but got shot in the back by McCaffrey. This is how Arthur found out that McCaffrey is an Atlantean. So later on, at some point, Arthur remembers this is the same creature that took his mom. So he wants answers. And one of the cut scenes and the editing is a little odd. You'll have one scene here, something will happen, and they'll end up in the ocean on a boat. And so that's kind of what happened towards the end. McCaffrey and Arthur are taken hostage. He frees himself, but he's weak, and so he splashes water on his face, knowing that it will rejuvenate him. It would have been nice to see him learn this stuff and like an origin, you know what I'm saying? This is what this really should have been. It should have been like an origin episode and not him already knowing who he is and stuff. That would have been a whole lot better for this pilot. Like, when did he find out that the water can heal his body and give him strength? So now he's super strong, can break like rope and all this other stuff. He fights the siren and actually punches her. I'm surprised because, Smallville, they didn't punch. And McCarthy gives him like a spear and he just stabs it in her head and everything. And she just dies. Like she glows and just disappears and everything. Like, I guess her body broke up or something like that. And so towards the end, McCarthy's all like, I'm going to train you, this and that. I want you to read this book and everything. And so, like, that's going to be it. And, it would continue with, like, him stopping, like, pollution in the water and trying to find out more about Atlantis. And the writer said, or the creator said, they probably would have had McCarthy kidnapped and taken back to Atlantis and stuff like that. So there's really no telling what would have happened with the rest of this series and stuff. Would he ever get his trident? Would he ever get a costume? Like, we just don't know. But it would have been really fascinating to like watch. And throughout the entire pilot, they never call him Aquaman. In fact, they don't even really call him Arthur. The people from Atlantis will call him Orin, but like everybody else calls him AC, the be hip and cool. I was just like, that would have got annoying very fast. So yeah, you can watch this on Tubi and everything. And it's too bad, like I said, it was actually on DVD at one point in time. And because they had it in their own like DVD case and they sold it along like the Smallville stuff. And if you own the Blu-ray to Justice League Crisis on Infinite Earth, the animation movie that came out many years ago, they put the pilot on the Blu-ray and everything. I had no idea. I just had a regular DVD because it was cheaper. Alrighty, well, I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.